All right, time to do a little update on the frame. Pretty much have a rolling chassis now. I think last time I did a video, I hadn't gotten the rear wheels on. I was just working on the brakes. And I think when I finished doing the brakes, I went ahead and put the wheels on and just never made another video of it. But as you can see, it's pretty much a roller now. Got the Curry 4 9-inch, 370 gears. Got the oil in it. Pretty much the backside's ready to roll. I went with Boyd, rear mounted fuel cell. I've just got it strapped in right now. I've got the hardware to mount it. I just need to take time to do it. I just needed it out of my way. And the best place for that to be is where it belongs, on the truck. So this is how I got it strapped in, just so I could get my holes drilled. It's pretty close to where it needs to be. When the time comes, I'll have to just, measure it and move it over a hair here and there. Get my holes drilled, and then boom, it's mounted. I've got fuel hose. I got onto this site, Hot Rod Fuel Hoses. I basically filled out the build sheet, told them what I got, told them what I needed. They sent me the complete build list. About everything I need to get it from here to the rails, and then I got enough left over, and then the fittings that I need to do trans lines as well. So it's that braided hosing, AN fittings. Should last me a while. At some point I may hardline it, but I don't know. No more than the lines where I'll probably just always stick with that. I've got the Firestone air shocks on here. Right now I've got them just hooked into a single Schrader valve, so I can air it up, keep the bags from just sitting completely bottomed out. On the front, I've got each one to its own Schrader valve. And man, when this thing airs out, the cross member is like an inch or less from the ground. It's so low that my low profile jack just can't even get under there. Speed Engineering headers are on. I've got rags shoved in there, keep any moisture from getting up in there. But man, those fit beautifully. No issues whatsoever getting those things on. I didn't even have problems getting the old ones off. There were some broken bolts, but they all came out with like channel locks. I didn't have to weld anything or do any heating or anything. It all just came out. Transmission, I still having the problem with this connector having fluid come out. So I've dropped the pan, got the fluid out of it. I've got the harness. I just need to find time to do it. So I just put the pan back on, tightened it back up. And at some point I'll get that changed out. Like I said in a previous video, if I have trouble with this transmission, I'm not going to hesitate to just drop it, take it, have it rebuilt. I don't really want to. I kind of bought this all as a working component, but if it messes up, I'm just gonna cut my losses on it. Motor, on the other hand, I need it to do what the guy said it would do, and I think it will. Just a matter of getting it hooked up. I'm not even going to try to fire this thing until the cab's back on. So previous video I did, it showed where I am with the cab. So basically once that thing's painted, I'll get it back on, and then it's time to get this thing running. All I lack really to get it running is some radiator hoses and a lot of work getting things hooked up. But I've got parts. The only parts I don't have is something to hook up the radiator. Radiators from Alloyworks. I'm not gonna lie, it's probably not the best made radiator out there. Price alone will tell you that. But reviews were good. I figure if it starts up, doesn't have any leaks, lasts me a couple years, a high dollar radiator might be on the budget down the line. But for now, all the reviews I read said this thing will get me going. It's just 4.8 stock. This 4-core have no problems cooling it. I still need to fab up. The factory mounts are not going to work. I'm going to have to make my own brackets. I bought some little nut certs to give me. I'm going to drill me a little hole, put me a nut cert in there, nut rivet, whatever you call them, and then that'll give me something to mount to. I've got the core support on, bushings. I got them from Brothers. I've got the same thing with my cab mounts. They're from Brothers. Rack and pinions on. This whole front end's out of whack. There's nothing aligned about it. Tie rods aren't adjusted properly. All this is letting me do is roll it. I was rolling it without the tie rods, and these wheels would just go all over the place, made it almost impossible to push it out of the garage. But with it on now, no problem. I think last time I updated this, I didn't have the shocks on. The kit that I bought didn't come with the right shocks, so I had to buy those shocks separately. Same thing with the front sway bar. I had to buy that separately, but that's all mounted up. Looks good. Again, my mounts, my trans cross member T-Hoss fit perfectly. This isn't tightened. No holes drilled or nothing yet. It's just sitting there. I got to figure out pinion angle and make sure I got that where I need it to be. I bought the highest transmission mount according to T-Hoss's instructions, so I got to also get that on there. Got a lot of parts, got a lot of things that need to get on. Just need time. Same thing, the guy who redid my harness told me to change the knock sensors, so I got to pull all this off, put new knock sensors in, put everything back on. Won't take long, but it's just time I haven't had to spend. So I do work on the truck, I do updates. Most of my updates go on to Instagram, Blue 82 C-10. If you'll check me out there, I pretty much always post something. And I'm pretty interactive there too. If anybody ever had any questions, I'm posting them there or on this channel. It'd be a good place to post them. I'm by no means an expert. I'm just a hobbyist. I love C-10s. I love square body C-10s. I've had this truck since I was 16, and I've just enjoyed working on it. It's my first one to do a complete restore on, so I'm really just doing it for me. At the end of the day, I'll just tell myself, as long as I'm happy with it, I don't really care what anybody else's opinion on it is, and I don't tell anybody else what to do with their truck. So, but I do like advice. I do take advice. You know, being new to this, I've had a lot of good advice given to me. These headers, someone advised me to get those, and they couldn't fit better. The T-Hoss mounts, had another guy tell me to go with those. It couldn't work better. The Ford 9-inch, I've just always known a solid rear end. The gear ratio for what I've got, you know, someone advised me, a good friend of mine advised me to go with Boyd for the tank, and so far I couldn't be happier. Boyd was an excellent company to work with too. They provided wonderful updates, and everything they said time frame wise, they just did it. So if I do this again, and I do plan on at least LS swapping another truck, I don't know about a complete rebuild, I'll definitely use Boyd again. I don't know if I can think of anything else to update on this. I've got parts that just need the cab done, and then those parts can go on. I got the doors over here. They need a lot of work on the bottom. I've got some skins that I'm gonna just reskin below the trim line. May cut kind of right at the trim line. That way it's easy to hide if I have a hard time cleaning up, which I don't think I will. Good skim coat will cover a lot. As long as thankfully I don't have to mess with any body lines. I've known people who've cut into body lines and never got that panel looking right again. These are the original doors. I could probably find some rust-free doors, but I don't want to. I want to use these doors. I want to use everything off of this truck that I can. Bed floors up behind it. That's completely sandblasted. I'm going to clean up some of the holes that don't belong there. This thing had a gooseneck in it at one time. And then once I get that cleaned up, I'm just gonna shoot some rust encapsulator, and then epoxy primer. I'm gonna spray the underside before I put it on the truck with some bed liner, same bed liner I used on the cab. And then once the bed's all back together, I'm gonna spray liner on the inside of it too. I'm not gonna get carried away with cleaning up a bunch of those pocks. The floor is solid, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just heavily worn. Some of the rust is starting to set back in. It's been 4 or 5 months since this thing was sandblasted, but I've kept it inside the whole time. So just whatever moisture's in the air, really all that's gotten on it. Did a pretty good job sandblasting. You can see there's still some paint left on there. Some of the seam seal are still on there. I'll spend a day cleaning it up, getting it ready to spray. I sprayed the primer with a homemade paint booth. There's the plastic I used, and I got some hooks up in the ceiling. Didn't have any trouble with spray getting out of the booth. Compressor did a wonderful job running it, never lost pressure. CFM stayed good. So I'm gonna continue forward with trying to paint this myself. Since I got a small area, I'm gonna have to paint panels at a time, so I went with like a nice flat color that I'll spray a high gloss on. So I should be able to do each panel, not have a whole lot of issues with color, since there's no pearl, no metallic, nothing that can change from day to day based on how you mix it and spray it. So I figure as long as I stay even with my primer coats and my base coat, and then get everything cleared, really shouldn't be a whole lot of variance between panel. Otherwise, I really don't know how to do it. I just don't have the space to do the whole truck. The most I'll probably be able to do is like 2 or 3 panels at a time. So my thought is like maybe do both doors, and then both fenders, both bed sides, and then I got these little odds and ends for the front. But yeah, as I do that, I'll keep making updates.